There are motorcycles that become legends because of their power, design, or technology. But there are also those that become famous for the complete opposite. These are machines that are absurdly expensive, unbelievably weak, or born from engineering decisions that only the manufacturer itself could understand. And the saddest part is that people still bought them, not because they were good, but because they had no idea how big of a mistake they were making. In the world of two wheels, knowledge is the best protection you have. It helps you avoid foolish investments and motorcycles that look good only on paper. Today, we will look back at 12 of the worst motorcycles ever made. The names that make seasoned riders shake their heads in disbelief. Ready? The list starts right now. Harley-Davidson Street, 500 and 750. In theory, Harley created them to attract new riders with a soft price, easy-to-handle dimensions, and a sound advertised as a mini Harley. But in reality, these were the bikes that made buyers quickly realize they had been fooled by their own expectations. The first disappointment was the engine. A 500 or 750 cubic centimeter V-twin should deliver punchy throttle response, signature vibrations, and a strong surge of power. But with the Street, all of that disappeared. Instead, you get a sluggish feel, weak torque, and almost no character, more like a budget cruiser than a true Harley. The build quality was not any better. Lots of plastic, thin metal, loose switchgear, and suspension so weak that just hitting a pothole is enough to understand why bikers called them cheap Harleys. And worst of all, the resale value was terrible. A Street 750 that cost nearly $7,500. New drops to half that after 2 years, and even Harley fans refuse to buy them. If you want a true Harley experience, save up for a used Sportster or Softail as for the Street 500 and 750. Those are the Harleys that even Harley wants to forget. Honda DN01. From the very first look, it already confuses you. Is it a scooter, a cruiser, a sport bike, or some kind of concept pulled straight out of a futuristic anime? And the funny truth is, even Honda did not know what it was trying to make. The DN01 was equipped with a 680 cubic centimeter V-twin engine, which sounds fine, but paired with a CVT transmission like a scooter, the result was a strange riding sensation. You twist the throttle, the bike roars, but it only moves forward in a lazy, low-energy way. No strong acceleration, no pulling sensation, just pure disappointment with a giant scooter flavor. But the biggest problem was the price. At launch, the DN01 cost up to $15,000, enough to buy a proper sport touring bike, a real cruiser, or even a full sport bike. Meanwhile, the DN01 delivered an experience that even the most loyal Honda fans had to admit was unlike anything else, and not in a good way. The result was that the market turned its back. Riders did not buy it. Honda fans did not buy it. Dealers only hoped to sell them off so they would not have to look at them anymore. Suzuki Hayabusa. The Suzuki Hayabusa is a masterpiece. That is undeniable. It was once the fastest production motorcycle in the world, a technical icon, and the king of long, high-speed highways. The problem is not the bike. The problem lies with the people who buy it without understanding what it was born to do. Many inexperienced riders see the 1,300 cubic centimeter number, hear stories about 300 km/h speeds, and immediately assume the Hayabusa is simply a bigger and stronger sport bike. They believe that just sitting on it will turn them into a highway hero. And what happens then? They crash. And they crash very early. The Hayabusa is a hyperbike, a completely different category. It is optimized for high-speed touring, stability at very high velocity, and linear power delivery. It is not made for reckless throttle pulls on city streets or amateur drag racing. Yet many people buy the Hayabusa only to stretch the swing arm, install a massive 300mm rear tire, and turn it into a useless straight-line machine. All of that destroys its cornering ability, making the bike heavy and difficult to control. Even worse is the ego. Some people buy a Hayabusa simply to prove they are brave or cool, without having the skills to handle such overwhelming power. They show off the speed, but never understand how to operate a true hyperbike. Ducati 749. The 749 was born as the more accessible version of the legendary Ducati 999, a bike that was powerful, razor-sharp, and had a true cult following. But the 749 did not have enough substance to inherit that glory. The 749 cubic centimeter L-twin engine with about 100 horsepower sounds acceptable, but the riding feel was too sluggish, the revs lacked excitement, and the power band always felt restricted. It did not have the wild intensity of the 748, nor the sharp precision of the 999. And then comes the most headache-inducing part: maintenance costs. Ducati has always been known for being expensive in an aristocratic way, but the 749 pushed owners to frustration. Valves difficult to adjust, high-priced parts, skilled mechanics in short supply, and even a small failure could make your wallet drop a few hundred to a few $1,000s. The sad thing is that even the Ducati fan community was not very enthusiastic. The 749 did not create its own identity, did not stand out in its segment, and left no special mark. Because of that, in the used market, its price dropped so deeply that many people bought one, simply because it was cheap. Yamaha R3. The Yamaha R3 is a good motorcycle as long as you understand its intended purpose. This is a sport bike for beginners. Light, easy to ride, easy to get used to, and strong enough to learn basic skills. But the problem begins when some people see the letter R in its name and immediately imagine they are owning a miniature version of the R6 or R1. And that is exactly when the disappointment starts. With a 321 cubic centimeter engine and about 42 horsepower, the R3 is perfect for new riders, but absolutely not for anyone expecting speed or power. The bike accelerates decently, is agile in the city, but on the highway or during hard throttle pulls, it reveals clear limitations. This is not a machine for adrenaline junkies. Even funnier is that many people try to turn the R3 into a superbike. They install race exhausts, swap fairings, remap the ECU, and even spend money on dyno tuning to unlock hidden power. But no matter what you do, the R3 still tops out at around 110 miles per hour. No miracles, no power leaps, just a small bike modified to the point of wasting money. If you are new to the two-wheel world, the R3 is a fantastic, safe, and easy-to-control choice. But if you already know how to ride and want real excitement, choosing an R3 is like buying a VIP ticket but accidentally sitting in the kids section. Harley-Davidson LiveWire. Harley-Davidson saw the future of electric motorcycles and decided to jump into the game. The idea was good, the ambition was big, but the execution turned the LiveWire into one of the most expensive lessons in Harley's history. Instead of creating a reasonable electric bike, the company chose to price it like a luxury item and hoped people would buy it just because of the Harley logo. The LiveWire had a price of more than $20,000, nearly twice the cost of the Zero SRF, a competitor that did everything better. But the biggest problem was the range. In ideal conditions, the LiveWire could only run about 100 to 120 miles, and if you twist the throttle for fun, which is exactly what anyone buying a high-torque electric bike wants to do, that number drops to 80 miles, meaning you barely start having fun before you have to look for a charger. And speaking of charging, unless you are standing right next to a DC fast charger, prepare to wait for hours. A motorcycle advertised as premium electric performance, but forces you to sit and charge like you are waiting for an old cell phone. It is hard to justify the inevitable result: terrible sales. Harley was forced to spin LiveWire into a separate brand to save face. Kawasaki Ninja 650. The Kawasaki Ninja 650 is a good motorcycle, but it is only good if you understand that this is a commuter bike wearing a sport bike costume, not a racetrack monster, as many people mistakenly believe. The problem starts when beginners see the word ninja, see the sharp fairings, and confidently think they have bought a mini superbike. And that is exactly when the wrong expectations begin to collapse. The Ninja 650 uses a 649 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine that produces about 67 horsepower. Enough for city riding, enough fun for light mountain roads, but absolutely not made for track days or high-speed runs. The chassis is built for comfort, not precision. The riding position is upright, not aggressive. The suspension is soft, not performance-oriented. This is a bike that wants you to enjoy the ride, not to race. Yet some people still try to turn the Ninja 650 into an R6 killer. They install race exhausts, swap to stiffer forks, mount lower clip-ons, and even remap the ECU in an attempt to force it into becoming a sport bike. But no matter how many mods you throw at it, it still carries friendly DNA. No high rev range, no explosive power band, and no sharpness for high-speed cornering. If you are a beginner and want a motorcycle that is easy to ride, easy to maintain, and budget-friendly, the Ninja 650 is a great choice. But if you are looking for true sport performance, this bike will disappoint you. Not because it is bad, but because you had the wrong expectations from the very beginning. BMW R1200C. BMW is famous for touring and adventure machines, powerful, precise, and durable. But when they tried to squeeze into Harley's playground with the R1200C, the result was like a German engineer trying to speak American, with a very confusing accent. The R1200C used a 1,170 cubic centimeter boxer twin, an excellent layout for touring, but almost nonsensical when placed on a cruiser. Instead of a deep rumble and abundant torque, the bike delivered a side-pushing engine feel, unpleasant vibrations, and shallow torque. Its output was only about 61 horsepower, so low that even a Harley Sportster 883 felt stronger, but the disappointment did not stop there. The R1200C weighed more than 560 pounds, making it move as if it were dragging an entire garage behind it. The strange steering geometry, unnatural riding posture, and heavy handling turned city riding into a test of patience. Despite all this, BMW priced it like a premium cruiser, and of course, the market did not accept it. Low sales, poor feedback, and after just a few years, BMW quietly discontinued the R1200C as if trying to forget its misguided phase. Honda NM4. If there were an award for the motorcycle that looks the coolest but rides the dullest, the Honda NM4 would definitely be near the top. At first glance, it looks like a machine that stepped out of a sci-fi movie. Low stance, long tail, sharp plastic panels, and a riding position that makes you feel like you are piloting a battleship. But the moment you climb on and ride a few feet, you realize the real story. This is not the motorcycle of the future. This is just an oversized scooter wrapped in cosplay armor. Despite its anime cruiser appearance, the NM4 uses a 670 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine with under 50 horsepower, a number on par with many mid-range maxi scooters. And just like a scooter, it uses an automatic transmission. No shifting, no punchy engine feel, no sense of connection between rider and machine. Just twist the throttle and see what happens. But the thing that makes people shake their heads the most is the price. At launch, the NM4 cost more than $11,000, as expensive as a mid-range cruiser and even close to the price of some real sport touring bikes. Yet its performance, agility, and riding feel were only comparable to a large scooter. Even the most loyal Honda fans could not defend the NM4. Many people bought it just because it looked unique, but after a short time, they realized the truth. A strange-looking motorcycle does not necessarily mean a good motorcycle. Big Dog K9. This was Big Dog Motorcycle's attempt to turn the chopper spirit of the 1970s into a mass-production product. The idea was nostalgic, but the result felt like a piece of artwork that should be displayed, not ridden. The K9 came with a 1,800 cubic centimeter V-twin that sounded powerful, but in operation, it vibrated like a jackhammer. The engine noise was not the rugged Harley Outlaw kind, but the kind that makes you wonder if a bolt has fallen off. On top of that, the K9 was notorious for oil leaks, something many people thought had disappeared since the 1970s. The biggest problem with the K9 was its handling. The 300mm rear tire and stretched rake angle made steering it feel like trying to turn a bus using your pinky finger. It looked great going straight, but try a sharp turn or a tight U-turn in a parking lot, and you immediately understand why many owners called it a full-body workout. On top of that, the thin seat, stretched riding posture, and suspension that seemed there only for decoration turned every long ride into an endurance challenge. And all of this was sold at a price of more than $30,000 when it debuted. Royal Enfield Himalayan. The Himalayan is the kind of motorcycle many people fall in love with at first sight, thanks to its classic adventure styling, upright, comfortable riding position, and rugged look that seems ready to cross forests and climb mountains. But once you ride it for a long enough distance, you discover a far less romantic truth. The Himalayan only pretends to be an adventure bike. In real-world use, it reveals a series of weaknesses that make even beginners hesitate. The 411 cubic centimeter engine, producing only about 24 horsepower, feels unbelievably weak for a motorcycle advertised for long-distance travel. It is fine in the city, but once you get onto the highway, it starts to struggle. The Himalayan has difficulty maintaining 70 miles per hour consistently, and the vibrations from the single-cylinder engine make your hands go numb after just a few minutes. It feels like you are trying to force a tractor to go on a cross-country trip. The worst issue lies in reliability. Even though Royal Enfield has improved its quality in recent years, the Himalayan is still criticized for rust-prone frames and bolts, inconsistent electrical systems, oil leaks, and even welds that can crack when riding on rough terrain. An adventure bike that constantly makes you worry about breaking down halfway clearly is not fulfilling its mission. MV Agusta F4. If the motorcycle world had a muse that could captivate anyone at first glance, it would be the MV Agusta F4. From its sharp design, distinctive quad-shot exhausts, to its unmistakably Italian silhouette, the F4 is nearly perfect in terms of aesthetics. But the harsh truth is, this motorcycle was born to be admired, not lived with. And those who foolishly believe that something this beautiful must ride just as beautifully usually need only a few weeks to wake up. The F4 is infamous for technical instability that borders on frightening. Electronics fail often. The charging system is weak. The ECU behaves unpredictably, and the engine can even self-destruct if pushed too hot. These are not minor issues like warning lights or random sensors. These are the kinds of failures that force you to call a tow truck mid-trip and wonder why you did not buy a Honda or Yamaha like everyone else. The maintenance costs of the F4 feel like walking into a luxury appointment you cannot afford. Valve adjustments alone cost thousands of dollars, replacement parts are scarce, and almost no mechanic wants to touch it unless they are paid handsomely. In terms of riding experience, the F4 has such an unforgiving riding posture that your wrists and knees will surrender after just half an hour. And those are the 12 motorcycles that only people who do not fully understand would spend money on. But the most important thing here is not to criticize anyone, but to remind each other of one simple truth. Knowledge is always the best armor when stepping into the world of two wheels. Every motorcycle on this list has a reason why people regret buying it, and that is why your experience, whether it is a funny story, an expensive lesson, or a "that was close" moment, is incredibly valuable. If you have ever owned one of the models on this list, or if you know another motorcycle that deserves a spot, feel free to share it below. Every comment you leave helps the riding community become safer and smarter. And if you want to see more lists like this, honest, funny, but full of information, do not forget to hit like and subscribe. See you in the next stories.